Hi everybody, my name is Vera Grazia and welcome to my very first podcast episode, ? So I primarily post knitting videos and I do like knitting vlogs because I have it in my mind that nobody wants to sit and listen to me talk for 30 minutes, but my grandfather has a lot of faith in me and thinks that I should pick up podcasting. And so this is my first one. I decided since this is my first podcast and I have not done any other ones, oftentimes people talk about like what they're working on or different plans that they have, and I think we're at a good halfway point through the year for me to tell you everything that I've made in 2025 so far. So in this video, I'm just gonna go over everything I made. I'm gonna tell you what the pattern is, the designer, the yarn that I used. I think I'm a very visual person, so I typically will watch vlogs, but also I watch a lot of knitting podcasts. So in this video, you'll see visuals because I can't help myself. I just love filming and showing pretty pictures and videos of pretty things. So yeah. And just to begin, if you're interested in any of the things I do, if you have any questions, because you're working on any of the projects that I have completed, then you can find me on Instagram at knittingfae. And yeah, just come check me out. I post more real-time updates on what I'm working on. Anyways, let's get into it, I guess. Okay, the first thing that I finished this year, I don't know if I should consider it as a finished object for this year or last year, but I never did a video like this last year, but I primarily worked on it and then finished it like right in New Year's. And that is the Augustins number 4 by Augustins TK. First time I saw the sweater, I fell in love with it. And it was my first knitting vlog that I posted because it was over winter break, and so I had the time to film and edit all of this, and then it did really well. And this sweater I was obsessed with, like I did not stop wearing it. I knit it out of Knitting for Olive, heavy merino, and mohair. So it was an expensive project, but it came out so luxurious, and it kind of sucks that I started with that because I don't know that I'll be able to go back. It was also my very first color work sweater, which I think was a great start to color work because it's a very easy, simple, repetitive pattern. And I loved it. I loved every single thing about it. It kind of got me going on my knitting account too and really started to pick up views. And it was the first thing that I made for myself after like gift knits. So I love the sweater. I love that sweater so much. For the Augustins number 4, I would rate that like 10 out of 10. I give it 9.5 out of 10. Just because later when I talk about the Lumme pullover, it has short row shaping, which gave it a 10 out of 10. The next thing that I made was the Dugg sweater by Skappel. I made a YouTube video on this and I had really wanted the pattern. My boyfriend got me that pattern for Christmas and I was obsessed with it until I started knitting it, and then I finished it, and it just wasn't as good. I think the pattern is beautiful. I think it's a beautiful design, just a poorly written pattern. This is also the first time I'm admitting it online, but I think my gauge was off because I did not do a gauge swatch, and I started gauge swatching after that sweater because I felt like I messed up. So I think it was maybe a mix of the pattern itself and then my experience with the yarn and just the finished product that I just did not really get along with that well. So that was that project. It was a good lesson and I'm glad I have the pattern now because I totally would buy some Drops Air and remake it again. The Dugg sweater, I would give it a 6 out of 10. That's about that on that. The next sweater that I did kind of in the end of January to February time frame was the Lumme pullover by Sari Nordlund, and I love that sweater. That sweater I used Knitting for Olive, and the colors I picked it out with my mom, and I think I got it on a discount too. It's a beautiful sweater. I finished it just in time for my birthday, and the process of just making flowers and kind of looking forward to the springtime and the whole experience of that sweater was lovely. And I remember when I finished it, it was right before my birthday and I was snowed in. There was snowstorms down in Southern Virginia where I go to school. And so classes were canceled and I had this nice knit, cozy, beautiful sweater that I made. And I remember sleeping in it for multiple days straight and it did not pill at all. So again, it was the Knitting for Olive heavy merino held with their mohair. and it was a magical sweater. I hope to match a sweater that I do this season to that one, because that one was so good. I think it could be really cute with some colors for fall, or if it happens to be done around the springtime of next year, then it's beautiful. Like, you can do very beautiful colors. And Knitting for Olive worked so well with this sweater, and it's a cozy, I love it, if you can't tell. So the Lumme pullover is a 10 out of 10, I would say. Everything about the sweater is perfect. The fit, the yarn, everything. The directions were great. It was a wonderful pattern. The next one that I did kind of fell around spring break, and it was the Lotta pants by Les Filles du Coeur. I loved those pants. Those, I remember knitting them over spring break, and I finished them over spring break, and I love the pants. Like, the entire process of knitting, the yarn, because I remember I used Eco Puno from Lana Grossa, and it was such a wonderful yarn. It was very soft, and first time I ever used that yarn, and then the videos that I made with those pants did really well. The Lotta pants video on YouTube is at like 14,000 views, I think, and that was the one that really kind of started growing my YouTube channel a little bit, and it was just really cool to see that. And also the post, I was being supported by Lana Grossa. I think they started following me on Instagram after that, which was really cool. And so I loved those pants. They fit perfectly. They still do fit perfectly. I feel like they sound like the perfect lounge pants, and I would like to lounge around in them. The yarn is soft, but sometimes like sitting on it for a long time gets like a little itchy, but not like itchy in the way that wool is, but just itchy in the way that the stitches imprint on you, and you just have a imprinted stitch on you that it doesn't really, I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Let me know if you understand what I'm saying. But very beautiful pants. I love the pants. I don't wear them super often, but I definitely do wear them. I had a full knitted by me outfit on the other day, and it was those pants and a sweater that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. For those pants, I would probably rate them a out of 10. I'd give them like an 8 out of 10. The next item that I knit was my own design. So over spring break, I went to this local yarn shop to me, and I got this yarn that I loved, and I had a vision for what I wanted the pattern to look like, but I could not find a pattern. And so I asked a lot of people on Instagram, and people were so helpful. Like, it was crazy how many people would respond to me and help me out. But I designed what I call the Patrick blouse. I call it the Patrick blouse because when I was making it, it was like towards the end of spring break, and spring break was like the week before St. Patrick's Day. I had this green yarn that I wanted to finish by St. Patrick's Day, and so I called it the Patrick sweater. That's it. It's not super deep. I did not end up finishing it by St. Patrick's Day. I think I might have finished it by like that next weekend where people like celebrated St. Patrick's Day. That's how it got its name. And so I designed the Patrick sweater, which I have here. The Patrick blouse, I call it. So this here was the sweater. I don't think I have some videos on it. I made it out of Mrs. Moon Plump DK. So very soft yarn. It was 1-ply merino alpaca blend. Yeah, so it was my very first design, and I had kind of talked about releasing a pattern, but then I never really got around to it until this summer because I felt like I saw, okay, I'll get into that thing that I felt when I talk about this one, which is also Patrick blouse, but we'll get to that. So this one, I rate it an 8 out of 10 because when I blocked it, it got really huge because I did not do a gauge swatch. So I have since recommended a different yarn for that sweater, for the blouse, because this one was a little bit unpredictable. But I love the color, the fit is lovely. I just loved everything about it, and I felt so proud of myself for creating something out of my own mind that I wanted. I give this one 8 out of 10. So after that, I then knit the Ranunculus, my very first Ranunculus. Again, this was yarn from my local yarn shop back at home, and this is what it looks like. The yarn that I used was also local, and it was 100% wool, and so it's very soft, and it was processed organically, so it had a little bit of like a waxy feeling to it, and I knit with that, and then like it has since kind of worn out a little bit as I wear it and after I blocked it. It was an amazing sweater to knit. It is such an easy sweater to throw on and to wear so casually. And I love the wide neck. Like, if you can't tell, I love a good wide neck. So I did go with the wider neck option, and I think I knit a size 3. Also, if you have any questions about what size I knit, either I made a video on it and you can probably see it in the video, or just like ask me in the comments and on it. Because otherwise I have to pretend that I said it for each sweater and say it right now, but that'd be weird. This one I'm gonna give a 9 out of 10. Just because the yarn was like not a 10 out of 10, but a 9 out of 10 because it's local, it is soft, and it bloomed very nicely too. Very much love this one. Recommend the Ranunculus. There's a reason why it's been on the hot right now on Ravelry for so long. I get it. I get the hype. Okay, after that I fell in love with the Pippa Tee. I was scrolling and I saw this designer Marie post the Pippa Tee. It's like the perfect baby tee that she made, and I fell in love with it. Like, I had to have it right then. And luckily she was writing a pattern and called for testers, and I remember checking every single day waiting for the call for testers. And so she did, and then I applied and fell in love with it. I probably seemed a little bit desperate because I like had already bought the yarn, and I like kept texting her and being like, hey, just wondering how much skeins you use. This is the Pippa Tee. I have a few videos on my Instagram about it. I really love it, and I love supporting her because she's a small designer, and I feel like small designers need to be supported. I used Drops Bombolin, which is what Marie used in her pattern. The experience working with Bombolin was like a 6 out of 10. But the final product is, I would give it a good 8.5 out of 10. Just like because of the experience with the yarn, which is not the pattern's fault at all. And the one like issue I have is the neckline, because it's tight to put on the neckline. Like, I'm always struggling a little bit. So I had to figure something out for that. For the neckline specifically, if you're curious, I bound off in pattern with I think with like the cream white that I used in the Lumme pullover. So it's a wool, so I thought it would have a little bit more stretch, and it does. It's still tight. But besides that, like, it's stretchy. I was under the impression that a cotton linen blend was going to be stiff and not stretchy, and I was going to rip it as soon as I put it on. But this is great. It has bust shaping, it has waist shaping, the buttons are so unique and so cute, and I love this. If you were thinking about making this, this is your sign to make it. If not, you should consider making it because it's really cute for the summertime, especially. After the Pippa Tee, I made my second ranunculus. I made it for my mom in Drops Paris. It came out beautifully. I have some pictures. I'll put some pictures on the screen. I made it in like a tee version, and it's 100% cotton. So it's also a little bit like loose, like the fabric is loose and very drapey. So perfect for the summer for her. It looks lovely on her. I'm so glad I did that. It was a mix of Mother's Day present and her birthday, because her birthday is in June and Mother's Day was in May. And I finished it like at the end of May when I came back home from school. I gave that to her. I posted a cute little video on my Instagram if you're curious. Again, I would rate that one, I give that one a 9 out of 10. Just because it came out beautifully, the fabric was beautiful, the color was beautiful. I debated keeping it for myself, but I knew how much my mom would love it, so I didn't. So after that, I had a little bit of an in-between time where I was working on something that I have not finished, which I talk about at the end of this video. But I then casted on my next test knit, which was the Simpukka Sweater. It was crazy. You can see kind of the clip in my A Week Knitting where I had gone to classes for the day, and then I had gotten an email that I was accepted for this test knit. This test knit was, the yarn was sponsored, and so it was from BC Garn, and the yarn that it required was one strand of BC Garn's Lino and another one of their Melange? Simalia? I don't know. But it was wonderful. It was crazy because like free yarn, and I got accepted to it, and it's such a cute sweater. And so it has shells on it. And one thing I've noticed for myself this summer is that there's been a shell motif of my summer. which you'll see in a little bit. This one here was truly a pleasure to make. It was so fun. It worked up so quickly. And like, look at the shells. I don't know. I just love them. And these cables, I'd give this one a 9 out of 10. The yarn is nice. It's not 100% soft, but also like, this is a shell sweater. It is made during the summer, and so like you don't want it to be super duper soft, but also like it's a little bit scratchy. And I love the design. The pattern was great even though it was testing. So I really recommend the sweater when it comes out. It's beautiful. How much to say on this one? It was just a great knit. After that, I knit my Patrick Blouse number 2, which is this one. I knit this one in Barocco Bozzolo. This one here was again from my local yarn shop that I just like fell in love with. I saw it, I fell in love with it because it's so soft. But like surprisingly it really irritated my finger when I was knitting with it. Anyways, this is the sweater. It features like these cropped sleeves, a cropped length, and a wide neckline. And here's my little story. I don't know. I made this, not this one, but the other one, the first one, back in March, and it was this green boat neck, wide neck sweater, right? Anyways, it was kind of around the time I was making this Simpukka sweater where I was scrolling on Instagram and I saw this very large knitwear designer slash knit influencer create a sweater that looked so much like my sweater. It was green, it had the thick ribbing, it had the boat neck, like it was kind of crazy. Like I thought there was no way that this person with 140,000 followers could have seen my work with 1,000 followers, right? But what's funny is that even the designer of the Pippa Tee, Marie, she sent me a video that this creator posted and she was like, it looks so much like your sweater, and I'm like, oh no. And so that really pushed me to write a pattern and call for testers, just to kind of like put my name on it and put it out there as like, this is work that I am doing and I have made. And so really the Patrick Blouse dates it because I was inspired by St. Patrick's Day, and you can go back onto my account and see it back in March, me making it. And anyways, I just thought like there's no way, but regardless, I think what good came out of that was that it pushed me to buy this yarn from the local yarn shop, the local yarn shop back in Virginia, in this beautiful like pink color, and it's cotton too, because I'm like, this pink color, it's so me, and I think will be attractive to the visual eye to see it. And so I bought it with the intention of making this sweater, and as I was making it, I wrote down notes, I wrote down the pattern, called for testers, and now currently my testers are testing it, and it's incredible. It makes me so happy to see like the amount of disbelief and gratitude I have that there are people that saw what I designed and saw me as someone who has never designed something before but wanted to take a chance and put their time and energy into creating what I made. I don't know. I just can't believe it. I can't believe it. That is what good has come out of it. I genuinely wear this sweater a lot. I will put it on just to have something cozy on. And like, not to mention the color. The color is just beautiful. So I made this sweater in the beginning of this summer. So this was kind of like in June a little bit. I made this sweater and it went really quickly, by the way, just in case you're curious. I don't have an exact release date for the sweater. The deadline is July 25th. And so probably sometime after that is when I'll make all the final changes and then release it. I don't know, it's my first thing, and my first thing as a little account. I don't know. I'm excited. Just in case you see this and you're like, oh, I love that sweater so much. My Instagram is Knitting Faye, and stay tuned for the release. Anyways, I would probably rate this sweater I mean, what happens if I say 10 out of 10? Like, it's my own design. The yarn is lovely. It wasn't so lovely to work with, surprisingly, but it feels so comfortable on, and it's made the way that I like it. So that is the Patrick Blouse number 2, and this is the one, a more accurate representation of the sweater that you would make if you make this pattern. The next thing that I finished in all of 2025 was the shell tee. There's that shell motif again. This is the shell tee by Wool & Beyond, and it was like so fun making this. I used Wool Dreamer's Sona in this. I held 2 strands of that together. I talked more about it in my last video that I posted on the sweater, on this t-shirt. I keep saying sweater for this. But it was so fun to knit, actually. Like, I really enjoyed the process because it's very unique, but that made it like a good challenge, and it's not like a typical yoke that's just going round and round and round. It's annoying. It was interesting, very interesting construction. You definitely can see more in my video where I talk about it and just like go over the process making it. But super fun, loved this. I would probably rate this, I'd probably rate it like 8.5 out of 10, just because it was so fun. I don't know how 100% practical it is because I do have the slit very low, but I mean, I don't really wear the most practical things anyways, so love that sweater, love that t-shirt. That's all that I have made in 2025. So now I just want to show you the 2 things that I have a work in progress for. I'll show you the thing that was most, like, the oldest work in progress. Here's my project bag, and this is the oldest work in progress that I have. It is the Dagmar jacket. I slowed down on it kind of for obvious reasons because it is summertime and it's a little bit hot, but I'm making this out of Drops Air, and it really, like, I love the process. I think when fall comes, come on, let's go. Oh my gosh, I love this baby. I'm making this out of Drops Air. I think the color is wheat. So I was knitting this in my trip to my other grandparents' lake house in Wisconsin. And as you can see, there's cables all over. And so after this, when I finished the body, I just stopped and I went on to the Simpukka sweater. So that's why those cables were so much less tedious and annoying. Anyways, I think what's kind of like hindering me is the next step in this is the plackets, which I don't think I've ever really used the word plackets, but I know it's like the button band. And for some reason I just like have not started it because of that. And I'm still looking for like the perfect buttons for it too. And I was kind of a little bit over cabling, so I took a break on it. But I think definitely when I head back to school at the end of the summer, I'm definitely going to want to finish it as like a cozy knit and just have something cozy, because I'm also starting long distance with my boyfriend, and for some reason I have to like really romanticize my life just to kind of really enjoy where I'm at. I'll be into fall vibes, and this is what I'll work. The last thing that I'm working on are these shorts. I'm designing my own pattern for these, which I hope to release and do a test call somewhat soon, like maybe within a few weeks, because I have to finish these, write the pattern, grade the pattern, but they're coming along so cute. I did a mid-project block, that's why these ones look different than these ones, but I only have 4 more ruffles left to do. So, pretty excited for these. And for these ones, I'm using Marielenatricot Cicero, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, stay tuned for this, for a test thing call, if that's something you're interested in. I'm really excited. I'm currently working on another YouTube video on these, which I'll probably post next week. So if you're interested, then maybe you should subscribe, because this is also the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed watching this. If you were knitting something while you're watching this, please tell me what you were knitting. I'm interested. I am always looking for new patterns and just small designers, inspiration, anything like that. If you work on something, please just tell me what you're working on. And that's all for this video. If you want to follow along on my more day-to-day activities, then go check me out on Instagram at knittingfae. I also created a TikTok, which will have the same videos if that's maybe more of your field. But on Instagram, I'm like the most active, and so that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, maybe like it, just to help me out. And if you want to see a process of these, you should subscribe so it pops up on your page when I finish the video on these. Anyways, that's all I have for this video, and let me know if this podcast is good, or maybe give me some constructive feedback. But this is not going to be like my permanent setup because this is just my grandparents' house. Anyways, thanks for watching so much, and I'll see you in my next video. Maybe. Bye! Well, we're still told me that, like, this was my dog the whole time. Sitting on my lap and resting. Bye!